Jack had never felt so alone. The crash had left him stranded on an unknown planet, with no way to contact his crew. His spacecraft had torn apart in the planet's dense atmosphere, leaving him with nothing but his survival gear. As the last remaining human on this strange alien world, he had no choice but to make his way through the unknown landscape, hoping to find shelter and resources. The planet was like nothing he had ever seen. The sky was filled with strange colors, hues of purple and blue swirling together in the strange atmosphere. Giant trees towered over him, their massive trunks stretching into the sky, while alien plants of every shape and color covered the ground. Jack was certain he wasn't on Earth anymore, but that thought didn't comfort him. If anything, it made him feel even more isolated. What was this place? And why was he the only one here? He moved cautiously, watching his surroundings for any signs of danger. Jack wasn't a soldier, but he had learned to survive on different planets in his time as an explorer. He knew how to keep his wits about him. Still, the loneliness was overwhelming. Every sound, every shift in the air sent his heart racing. It felt like he was being watched, even though he knew he was alone. Or so he thought. After hours of wandering, Jack stumbled upon a strange hidden structure. The entrance was hidden beneath thick vegetation, but the moment he cleared it, the sight before him made his heart skip a beat. A large metallic door loomed ahead, with strange alien markings etched into its surface. His curiosity got the best of him, and he approached the door cautiously. The door slid open automatically as he approached, revealing a dimly lit corridor that stretched deeper into the earth. The walls were smooth and metallic, unlike anything Jack had seen before. The air was thick with an odd scent, a mixture of something sweet and something metallic. It didn't smell dangerous, but it was certainly strange. As Jack stepped into the corridor, the door closed silently behind him. Inside, the hallway twisted and turned, leading him through various chambers. The more Jack explored, the more he felt like he was in a maze. He couldn't figure out where he was, but the deeper he went, the more he felt that something, or someone, was out there. After what felt like an eternity of wandering through the strange facility, Jack came across an open room. His footsteps echoed against the walls as he stepped inside. The room was vast, with hundreds of bunk beds lined up against the walls, each one empty. Jack's heart beat a little faster as he surveyed the room. There were no signs of life, but something felt off. It was like someone had been here recently. His instincts told him to leave, but he couldn't help but feel drawn to something in the far corner of the room. There, sitting in a chair, was a figure. A woman. Her back was turned to him, and she was looking down at something in her hands. Jack didn't know if he should approach, but his curiosity got the better of him. He stepped closer, his footsteps quiet as he moved toward her. As he got closer, the woman turned her head slightly. Her eyes widened in surprise when she saw him. Who are you?" she asked, her voice laced with both curiosity and fear. Jack was taken aback. Her eyes were unlike anything he'd ever seen before. Large, silver, with a hint of something alien. She wasn't human, but her features were similar enough to make him wonder if she had some human ancestry. Her skin was a deep shade of purple, and her long, dark hair cascaded down her back. "I'm Jack," he said cautiously. My ship crashed here. I don't know how I got here, and I don't know if anyone else is around." The woman's eyes narrowed, and she stood up slowly, her movements graceful and almost feline. "A human," she whispered to herself, as if the idea of a human being here was incomprehensible. She then stepped closer to Jack, studying him with intense interest.
"I'm Zara," she said, her tone still tinged with disbelief. "But
"How are you here? What are you doing on this planet?" Jack opened his mouth to respond, but before he could speak, Zara's eyes seemed to catch something behind him. She froze for a moment, her expression turning to one of panic. Without warning, she grabbed Jack's arm and yanked him toward a nearby door. Come quickly, she urged. You're not supposed to be here. It's dangerous. Before Jack could fully comprehend what was happening, Zara pulled him down a narrow hallway, her grip firm and insistent. He wanted to ask more questions, to get answers, but the urgency in her eyes left him with no choice but to follow her. The sound of footsteps echoed from somewhere behind them, and Zara's face tightened with fear. They entered a small, dimly lit room, and Zara locked the door behind them, breathing heavily. She looked at Jack, her expression hard and serious now. You can't stay here, she said in a low voice. There are others. Dangerous others. They won't understand why you're here. Jack was confused. What do you mean? Who are you running from? Zara didn't answer at first. She simply stared at him, her eyes flickering between something like suspicion and curiosity. Finally, she spoke again, her voice softer. This place, it's not what you think. It's not a research facility or a shelter. This is a place where women are kept. We're all that's left of my species. Jack blinked in confusion. What do you mean? I thought I was the only one here. Zara's gaze turned distant, her mind seemingly far away for a moment. You're not the only one here. There are 1,000 women in this place, all of us from different species. We were supposed to repopulate this planet, but something went wrong. We can't reproduce the way we should. Jack didn't know what to say. This sounded insane. How could he be the only man left? He had to be misunderstanding something. Why are you here then? Jack asked. What do you need from me? Zara looked him in the eyes, her expression unreadable. You're a man, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Maybe you're the answer we've been waiting for. Jack stared at her in confusion. What does that mean? What do you want from me? Zara took a deep breath, her voice steadying. I don't know. But you need to stay hidden. There's no telling how long you can stay here before someone finds out. And when they do, it won't be good for you. Jack's mind was racing. What had he gotten himself into? What was this place? And why did Zara seem to think he was the key to something he didn't even understand? Zara stepped closer to him, her eyes filled with something that Jack couldn't quite place. Fear, desperation, maybe even hope. She looked like she was on the edge of something, like she had seen a glimmer of light in the darkness. I don't know what you'll do now, she said quietly. But you'll have to make a choice. Stay here with us, or leave, if you can. Jack's mind was swirling with questions, but one thing was clear. He wasn't alone on this strange planet anymore. And whatever was waiting for him here, it was bigger than he could have ever imagined. Jack couldn't shake off the feeling of unease. Zara's words echoed in his mind as he sat in the dimly lit room, trying to make sense of everything she had said. 1,000 women, from different species, stranded in this place with no way to leave. It sounded like something from a science fiction novel, not the reality he was facing. He turned to Zara, still standing near the door, her expression hard and unreadable. Her sudden urgency had left him confused and more than a little unsettled. He needed answers, but everything she said only raised more questions. So, Jack began cautiously, you said there were others here. Who are they? What do you mean by dangerous others? Zara hesitated, her eyes darting to the door before she spoke. Not everyone here is friendly, she said quietly. Some of the women in this place have become obsessed with the idea of reproduction. Jack frowned. I don't understand. You all can't reproduce on your own, right? That's why you need me? Zara nodded, but there was a heaviness in her gaze. Yes, but it's not just about survival. Some of the women believe that Well, they believe that you're the solution to all our problems. They see you as something more than just a man.
Jack's stomach twisted. What do you mean by that?
Zara's lips pressed together in a thin line.
They think you're the key to restoring our species. The last male. The only male! They're desperate.
Jack could feel his heart racing. Desperate enough to hurt me? Zara's eyes flashed with anger. Yes, some of them would do anything to ensure that you stay, to ensure that you provide them with the answers they need. But not all of us think that way. I just want to protect you, Jack's mind spun. Protect me? He didn't even know how to protect himself in this strange place. He had crash-landed on a foreign world and was now being pulled into a conflict between people he barely understood. He had to think clearly. So, what happens if I decide not to stay? If I just want to leave? Jack asked, his voice steady despite the chaos in his mind. Zara's gaze darkened.
You can't leave, she said flatly. It's too dangerous.
The women here, they won't let you go. Jack took a deep breath. But I didn't sign up for any of this. I'm not
a savior.
I just want to get back to my ship to find out what happened and get off this planet. I'm not here to be someone's solution. Zara stepped closer, her eyes softening as she looked at him. I know it's not fair, but there's no way out. Not unless we can find a way to work together.
And I think you're the only one who can help us.
Jack stood up, running a hand through his hair in frustration.
I don't know what I can do for you. I'm just one guy.
You're talking about a whole species. Hundreds of you. I'm not the answer to all your problems. Zara's voice softened, almost pleading. You don't have to be the answer to all of our problems, Jack. Just help us get a chance.
That's all we need. Jack didn't know how to respond.
He had never been in a situation like this before. The idea of being the only man on this alien planet was overwhelming, and the pressure was mounting with every passing minute. He just wanted to get back to his old life, but he had no idea how to escape or even where to begin. He felt trapped.
Look, I'm just trying to survive here, Jack said, his voice quiet but firm. If you want to help me, tell me what's going on.
What's this place really about? Zara's eyes flashed with something, fear, maybe, or anger, but she seemed to wrestle with it before answering. This facility, she said carefully, was designed as a refuge, a sanctuary. Our people. We were once a thriving civilization, but then something changed. Our biology, our reproductive system, it failed. We couldn't reproduce like we used to. And the men, the few that were left, disappeared.
Jack felt a shiver run down his spine. What do you mean, disappeared? Zara hesitated.
We don't know. One day, the men were just gone, and since then, we've been struggling to survive. This facility was meant to help us preserve our species, but without males, we were trapped. Some of us started searching for ways to make it work, but there were too many problems, too many sacrifices. Jack could see the weight of her words in her eyes. She had lived through this, had witnessed the fall of her people, and now she was asking him to be part of the solution.
So you're saying that this place was supposed to help you keep your species going, but it hasn't worked?
Jack asked, piecing it together. Zara nodded grimly. Yes, we've tried everything. Science, technology, even genetic manipulation. Nothing worked. And then we found you. Jack's head spun. He couldn't believe what he was hearing. This wasn't a refuge. It was a last-ditch effort to survive, at any cost, and he was somehow part of that equation. I don't want to be the solution to your problems, Jack said, his voice tinged with frustration. I'm not some kind of breeding stock. I don't even know how I got here in the first place. Zara's expression softened, and she placed a hand gently on his arm. I don't want that for you, Jack. I don't want you to feel trapped.
But you're here now, and whether you like it or not, you're part of our world now.
We can't go back. There's no escape.
Jack looked down at the floor, his thoughts swirling. What choice did he have? He could try to escape, but would that even be possible? These women were the only ones here, and Zara had made it clear that he wouldn't be allowed to leave. They needed him. But to what end? I just need time to think, Jack said, his voice heavy with uncertainty. Zara nodded, her gaze softening with sympathy.
Take all the time you need. Just remember, not everyone here will want you to leave.
And some will do whatever it takes to keep you. Jack's stomach twisted. He had no idea what kind of trouble he was walking into. But one thing was certain. His life was no longer his own. He was stuck in a battle he didn't understand. And the longer he stayed, the harder it would be to get out. Zara seemed to sense his unease and stepped back, giving him some space.
I'll be around, she said quietly, if you need me. Jack watched her leave, his mind spinning with everything he had just learned.
He had hoped for a simple answer, a way to escape, a way to survive. But nothing here was simple. Zara had made it clear. This was a battle for survival, and whether he liked it or not, he was now a part of it. As he sat in the dark, quiet room, Jack realized one thing. He needed to figure out how to navigate this alien world, or he might not survive it at all. Jack sat on the edge of the cot in the dimly lit room, his mind racing. What had Zara really meant when she said he was now part of their world? He had crash-landed here by accident, yet somehow, everything had turned upside down in a matter of hours. He didn't know what to think anymore. The more he tried to make sense of this strange place, the less clear it all became. The bunker, this underground facility, was like a strange, isolated world unto itself. The walls were sterile, lined with technology he didn't understand. The hum of machinery filled the air, adding to the feeling that everything here was designed for survival, not comfort. And yet Zara and the others were anything but comfortable. They were desperate. And somehow, Jack had become a key player in their struggle. His thoughts kept returning to Zara. She had been kind to him, but there was something about her that unsettled him. She didn't seem like the others. Zara was different. She wasn't as frantic or controlling as the others might be. But then again, Jack couldn't really be sure. He didn't know what kind of influence she had on the others. And the way she had looked at him, it wasn't just the way she saw a man in a world without men. There was something more to it. He wasn't sure what it was, but it made him feel exposed. Jack had spent the last few hours wandering the facility, trying to understand where he was and who he could trust. There were women everywhere, each with their own group, their own way of surviving. Some seemed to accept his presence without question, as if they were merely curious. Others looked at him as if he were a rare prize to be fought over. Every now and then, he caught glimpses of groups talking in hushed voices. He had overheard one woman whispering to another about keeping him safe. Safe from what? Was he really in danger here? Was his role as the only man among them something that could lead to a war for control? Zara's words still lingered in his mind.
You're part of our world now. You can't leave. He couldn't understand why she was so certain.
Why did they need him so badly? He had only crash-landed here. There had to be another way for them to survive, some solution that didn't involve him. But every time he tried to think of a way out, he kept coming back to the same conclusion. He was trapped. The only way forward was to learn more about these women. If he was truly their only hope, he had to figure out how this world worked, how their survival depended on him, but he had to be careful. Zara was right when she said some women would do anything to keep him here. He couldn't trust just anyone. He heard footsteps in the hall outside the room, and instinctively he stood up, trying to make himself seem less vulnerable. But when the door slid open, it wasn't Zara. A different woman stood there, one Jack hadn't seen before. She was tall, with sharp features and long dark hair that fell to her waist. Her eyes were a piercing silver, almost glowing in the low light. "Jack," she said, her voice cold but not unfriendly, "I need to talk to you." Jack hesitated. He didn't know this woman, but he knew he couldn't afford to alienate anyone in this place. "What about?" he asked cautiously. The woman stepped into the room and closed the door behind her. She gave him a calculating look before answering. "Zara," she said simply. Jack's stomach tightened. "What about her?" he asked, his voice steady, though his heart raced. "She's been talking to you, hasn't she?" the woman asked, her eyes narrowing slightly. "She's the one who brought you here, made sure you were kept safe. But I think you're too trusting." Jack blinked, unsure of where this conversation was heading. "What do you mean?" The woman's lips curled into a small, knowing smile. "Zara isn't the only one who wants to keep you here."
There are others who have been watching you, Jack. You're the first man they've seen in... I don't even know how long. They'll do anything to make sure you don't leave." Jack crossed his arms over his chest, still on edge. "I'm not some prize to be fought over." The woman raised an eyebrow.
No, but you are the solution to our problems, the solution to our survival.
"And if Zara is the only one telling you otherwise, then I suggest you start looking at her more carefully."
The words hung in the air, and for a moment, Jack was speechless.
Could it be true? Was Zara really playing some kind of game with him? Or was this woman simply trying to manipulate him into trusting her instead? Jack didn't know who to trust anymore.
I'm not here to start any kind of fight, Jack said, his voice firm. I just want to understand what's going on. I'm trying to survive here.
The woman nodded slowly, her expression softening.
I get it,
she said, her voice quieter now.
But you can't trust Zara. She's more interested in keeping control than in helping anyone else.
You're valuable, Jack. Don't let her make you believe otherwise. Before Jack could respond, the woman turned and walked toward the door. Think about it, she said over her shoulder. There's more going on here than you realize. With that, she left, leaving Jack alone with his thoughts once again. He sat back down on the cot, his mind whirling. What was he supposed to think now? Zara had been the only one who had shown him any kindness, the only one who had offered him protection. But this woman, whoever she was suggesting that Zara might not be as trustworthy as he had believed. Jack didn't want to believe it. He didn't want to think that Zara, the one person who seemed to understand him in this strange place, could be playing him. But the more he thought about it, the more uncertain he became. What if this was all just a game? What if Zara was just using him as a pawn in a much larger scheme? It was clear that he couldn't trust anyone without knowing more about their motivations. He needed to learn the truth. And to do that, he would have to get closer to the women who ran this place. He couldn't stay on the sidelines anymore. If he wanted to survive, he had to figure out who to trust and who might be trying to manipulate him. Jack spent the rest of the day thinking, weighing his options. He didn't know how long he had before things got more complicated. But one thing was for sure. This was no longer just about survival. It was about understanding who he could trust and finding a way out of this mess. That night, as he lay in the cot, Jack's thoughts were interrupted by a soft knock on the door. It was Zara. She stepped inside, her face serious but calm. "Jack," she said softly, "we need to talk." Jack looked at her, trying to read her expression. Was she really as trustworthy as she had seemed? Or was this just another part of the game?
I've been thinking about what you said earlier, Jack said, his voice steady but cautious. About staying here. About your people.
Zara looked at him with a mixture of concern and something else he couldn't place.
What's going on, Jack? What did she say to you?
Jack took a deep breath. She told me I couldn't trust you.
That you're not as interested in helping everyone as you say. Zara's expression faltered just for a moment.
Then she regained her composure, her voice calm. I told you, Jack. Not everyone here is as kind as they seem. Some people want to use you for their own purposes.
I'm not one of them. Jack didn't know what to believe.
All he could do now was listen and try to figure it out for himself.
I'm not here to deceive you,
Zara continued, her voice quiet.
I'm here because I believe you can help us. But I won't force you.
I want you to make your own choice. Jack stared at her for a long moment, his heart heavy with doubt, but in the end all he could say was, I don't know who to trust anymore. Zara nodded slowly, her gaze softening. I understand, she said quietly. But whatever you decide, Jack, you're not alone. We're all in this together. But as Zara turned to leave, Jack couldn't shake the feeling that things were only just beginning to get more complicated. The following days blurred together for Jack. His life had become a constant state of uncertainty, trying to figure out where he fit into this strange, alien world. Zara had kept her distance since their last conversation, but Jack couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. Was she truly trying to help him? Or was she using him, like the woman who had warned him? He couldn't trust anyone completely, and that made every interaction feel like a game he wasn't prepared for. As the days passed, Jack spent most of his time exploring the bunker, trying to get a sense of the place. It wasn't just a simple shelter. It was a highly organized structure, filled with complex technology and mysterious systems. There were medical rooms, living quarters, and countless chambers hidden behind locked doors. He had learned quickly that the deeper he ventured into the facility, the more secrets it seemed to hold. It was in one of the quieter, more isolated corridors that Jack encountered the woman again. This time, she didn't approach him directly. Instead, she appeared out of nowhere, standing in front of a closed door, watching him. Her presence was sudden, but not surprising. He had learned to expect her at random intervals, always lurking in the background, observing him. He still didn't know her name, but something about her, her calculated silence, the way she watched him, reminded him of someone who had an agenda.
Back again? Jack said as he stopped in front of her, trying to read her expression. Are you following me?
The woman didn't answer immediately. Instead, she stepped aside to reveal the door behind her. You should go inside, she said, her voice low and measured. Jack hesitated. What's in there? The woman gave him a look, her silver eyes gleaming.
Answers. If you want to know what's really happening, that's where you'll find them. Against his better judgment, Jack followed her lead and stepped toward the door. She didn't try to stop him. Instead, she just watched as he turned the handle and stepped inside. The room was dim, with only a few faint lights flickering overhead. It looked like a control center of sorts, filled with strange machinery and monitors displaying alien symbols that Jack couldn't even begin to understand. In the center of the room stood a large circular table, surrounded by a few chairs. One of the chairs was occupied. Zara sat there, her eyes focused on a monitor, her back to the door. She didn't hear Jack's footsteps as he entered, but the woman who had led him here stepped forward, closing the door behind them. Zara didn't seem surprised to see him. She simply turned in her seat and looked up at Jack, her expression unreadable. I thought you'd come, eventually, she said quietly. Jack's mind was racing. The more he tried to understand this place, the more questions kept piling up. Why had she brought him here? Why had she let him see this control room? Was this just another attempt to manipulate him? Or was it something more? What is this place? Jack asked, his voice steady but tinged with suspicion.
Why bring me here? Zara took a deep breath, as if gathering her thoughts. This is where we try to figure out how to fix everything, she said.
Everything in the bunker, all of our systems, every plan we've attempted to restore our species. It all starts here. It's where we analyze our options.
Analyze what options?
Jack asked, feeling his frustration rising. There's no fix for this.
You said it yourself. You need a man to save you, and I didn't ask for this.
Zara's eye softened for a moment, but then she looked back at the monitor.
It's not as simple as that, Jack.
The problem isn't just that we can't reproduce. The problem is everything that comes after.
Jack didn't understand. What do you mean? Zara looked at him for the first time, her gaze intense.
Without men, we've been left to survive however we can. We're living in a cycle of uncertainty. But we're also evolving, slowly. But we're changing. And there are risks. We've tried other ways of sustaining ourselves. Biological experiments, technological interventions, but nothing has worked. And now you're here.
Jack felt a chill run down his spine. So, what now?
You want me to help you breed more of your kind? His voice was sharp, more than he had intended. But the thought of being part of their experiment, their solution, made him feel sick. Zara's face tightened, but she didn't get defensive.
No, that's not the point.
But you're not just some solution to a biological problem. I need you to understand that. What's happening here, what's happening to all of us, is more than just reproduction. It's about survival. Jack took a step back, trying to process her words. He had no idea what she meant, but he knew one thing for sure. Zara wasn't just a leader trying to protect her people. There was something deeper going on, something she hadn't told him yet.
I don't get it,
Jack admitted.
None of this makes sense. Why me?
Why now? Zara stood up and moved toward him. She stopped just a few feet away, her eyes searching his. Because you're human, she said, her voice barely a whisper. You're the last piece we need. You've been here for a reason. We've been waiting for you. You don't just have the answers, Jack. You are the answer. Jack took a step back. I don't think I'm the answer to anything. Zara's expression softened, her voice almost pleading now. I know this isn't what you wanted, but you can't leave.
Not now. I've seen it.
I know you feel trapped, but you don't understand how close we are. We're on the edge of something that could change everything.
Change everything? Jack repeated, feeling both intrigued and uneasy. What do you mean by that? Zara took a deep breath, her eyes looking far away as she spoke.
I mean that we've spent too long surviving, Jack. We've lost ourselves in the process.
But with you here, we have a chance to rebuild, to heal. Jack didn't know what to say. This wasn't the same woman who had been kind to him before. This was someone who was desperate for something Jack didn't fully understand. Maybe he never would.
You have no idea what this feels like, Zara continued, her voice shaking now. We're on the brink of losing everything.
I can't let that happen. I won't.
Jack turned away, his heart heavy with the weight of her words. He had no idea how he had gotten himself into this mess. But now that he was here, he couldn't escape. Not yet. There was still so much more to learn. So many more pieces of the puzzle that were missing.
I don't know if I can help you, Jack said quietly, his voice thick with doubt.
I don't know if I even want to. But I'm stuck here now, just like you. And I'll try to figure it out. But I need to understand everything, Zara. I need to know the truth. Zara's gaze softened, and for the first time, Jack saw something like gratitude in her eyes. She didn't speak, but her eyes spoke volumes. I'll give you the truth, she said finally, her voice steady. But you need to make a choice, Jack. A choice that could change everything for us. For you. For all of us. Jack nodded slowly, still unsure of what that choice would be. He wasn't ready to make it yet. He needed more time. But deep down, he knew that whatever happened next, he couldn't go back. Not anymore. As Zara turned to leave the control room, Jack remained standing by the table, his mind racing with questions. What was the truth? What was really happening here? And most importantly, how could he survive this strange new world that he had been thrust into?